Here is Climate Atlas of Canada. There is a menu icon in the top left corner and a few quick options in the tab at the top. For French speakers, you can change the language settings from English to French in the top right corner. Let's start by going into the menu. There is a map option, which we will revisit in a moment. There are learning resources for specific topics for those of you interested in learning more. The Indigenous Knowledges section was recently added, which we will also explore in a bit. For now, let's go down to the Find Local Data option, which brings us to this page. Here, there are several options to access local data. You can access climate data for your location by using the Find Me button. For this option, you'll have to allow ClimateAtlas.ca to know your location. If you're not situated where you would like to find data for, then there are a few more options further down. Under Find a Municipality, you can search by the name of your city or town or select from the drop-down menu. But the names recognized here are more limited than ClimateData.ca. If you're part of or working with a First Nation or Inuit community, you can also enter the name of the community in the search bars provided here. For this tutorial, we'll use the example of the city of Kenora in Northern Ontario. If you find that your city, town, or community is not listed under the first three search bars, then try entering it under Find a Region and select from the recommended address options powered by Google. We can also use the map on the right to find our desired location. Because the large grid cell is so large, we'll switch to the small grid cell and zoom to the location where we know our municipality or community is situated. Once we've located the grid cell that best represents the area that we're looking for, we'll select it on the map. A region name will appear at the bottom of the map, and we'll then select the Go button. This brings us to a page that looks like this. Under Variable, we can explore all available climate data for our selected region through this page. For now, we'll continue with very hot days of 30 degrees Celsius or more. If you're interested in more information about data and methods, there are several links on the bottom left, which will bring you to web pages with more information on data and methods, important notes and limitations, climate change projections, and uncertainty. Please keep in mind that this climate data portal is continually being updated. New climate variables may be added or modified from time to time, and new climate scenarios may also be added in the future. Under Options, we have the choice of two climate change scenarios, a high emissions RCP 8.5 scenario or a moderate emissions RCP 4.5 scenario. Let's continue with the RCP 8.5 scenario for now. The graph below presents the climate data from 1950 to 2095. The graph is interactive and changes as you hover over it. The legend is located right below the graph. The black solid line represents the average value across all models. The dotted black lines represent the 10th and 90th percentiles of the model values, or 80% of where the model data fall within. The blue line represents the observed historical data that has been interpolated for the entire country. The red lines represent individual model data, which helps to illustrate uncertainty. Right now, all of the datasets are turned on by default. If we just wanted to focus on the 10th and 90th percentiles and the modeled average, for example, we can deselect the Show Individual Models option. We can also customize the graph further by selecting or deselecting the legend items. For example, if I turn off historical values, it no longer appears on the map. But I do like to show this, so I'll turn it back on. Once you've customized the graph to your liking, there are a few options. Under the Chart Context menu icon at the top right corner of the graph, you'll find an option to view the graph in full screen, to print the graph, or download the graph as an image file or PDF. Further down on the page, there are some additional options. By selecting Kenora Climate Report PDF, you can download an automatically generated climate report for the selected region, which provides a summary table of common climate variables for both climate change scenarios. Switching back to the portal, we also see the same chart image download options listed here as those listed under the Chart Context menu above. What's new here is the option to download the underlying climate data for a selected climate variable, which in this case is very hot days of 30 degrees Celsius or more, and our selected climate change scenario, which is currently set as RCP 8.5. Selecting Chart Data CSV will download an Excel file containing all of the available climate data sets for very hot days under RCP 8.5, including the observed historical and all of the individual model data. The table on the right is essentially what you will see in the Excel file. If we select Climate Model Data CSV, we will download an Excel file containing only the modeled historical and projected data for very hot days under RCP 8.5, minus the observed historical data. If we select Historical Data CSV, we will download an Excel file containing only the observed historical data. To download this data for RCP 4.5, all we need to do is go back to the top and change the scenario from RCP 8.5 to RCP 4.5 and repeat the download process. Before we switch over to the map view, there are some additional display options that are unique to Climate Atlas of Canada. Under Type of Display, we see that we're currently looking at the climate data as a time series graph. There's also an option to view the data as a frequency graph. The scatter plot and climograph options only display temperature and precipitation data. For all of these options, you can print these graphs or download them as an image or PDF using the options available under the Chart Context menu. With that, let's now take a look at the map view. We can switch to the map view by selecting the name of our selected region at the top right corner. This will automatically highlight our region on the map as opposed to directly going to the map through the tab at the top. Right now, we're seeing very hot days under the high carbon scenario, or RCP 8.5, for the period between 2021 to 2050. There's an option to switch to RCP 4.5 using the climate change slider at the bottom by switching from more climate change to less climate change. The information icon provides more information. Using the time period slider, we can change the time period displayed on the map. The recent past is from 1976 to 2005. 2051 to 2080 is the furthest future period. And again, more information is provided in the information icon. We can also explore different climate variables by selecting the different icons at the bottom of the page, including hot weather variables, cold weather variables, temperature variables, precipitation variables, and agriculture variables. The map is now displaying data for average length of heat waves under the RCP 4.5 scenario for 2021 to 2050. In the Summary tab on the right, we'll see a familiar time series graph for average length of heat waves further down. Here we can choose to display historical values. Further down, we have a numerical summary of the 10th and 90th percentiles and the average. Selecting Explore Detailed Climate Data will bring us back to the chart viewing mode. We can also open the link in a new tab. Now going back to our map view, we also see some familiar download options, including the Climate Report PDF, the Excel data files, the graphical image file. What's new here is an option to save a map of Canada image for the selected climate variable, climate scenario, and time period, which in our case is average length of heat waves under the RCP 4.5 scenario between 2021 and 2050. Going back to our map once again, here are some additional display options. We'll exit our region of Kenora for now and take a look at the different display options. Right now, we're viewing the small grid that covers the entire country. If we select the first icon on the left, we can switch from the small grid view to the large grid view or view data at the provincial or territorial level if we're interested in larger spatial scales. There is also an option to view the climate data in absolute average values or as changes from the recent past. Cities and municipalities are displayed on the map as points. Let's select Ottawa, for example, which brings up climate data for this location. Under the Indigenous icon, There are options to view First Nations communities, Inuit communities, and Métis projects as points on the map. Under Settings, you can choose to show highways, winter roads, rivers, and watersheds. The video markers are currently turned on. These are the play buttons found on the map, which you can select for community climate stories. Under Settings, you can also change the units of measurement from metric to imperial. If you ever need a refresher, there's a help icon and a tour icon at the top right corner of the page. With that, let's now take a quick look at the Indigenous Knowledge section by going to the menu and selecting Indigenous Knowledges. Here you'll find a wealth of resources on Indigenous knowledges related to climate change and specific content organized by First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. That brings us to the end of our quick tutorial on how to access and download data from Climate Atlas of Canada. There are also additional learning resources available under the Videos tab and Articles tab at the top if you're interested to learn more. And before you go, check out the Take Action topic for ideas and solutions. Thank you for watching.